doing with a group of 20-something people right now. And the topic that's coming up in the B-School group, and that...
I'm sorry, I just turned the sound on.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, these guys all heard me.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to A Course in Miracles Friday morning. Today, we're talking about the power of stillness, living your holiness. And I was just expressing what my friend Monique and I were talking about, and which is what I'm feeling is going to be today's topic, is how do you live these spiritual principles here in the world? Like, how do you really bring it into your life, into your relationships, into your bank account, into your eating, into your, just everything that you do here? Like, how do you integrate it so that it's not your spiritual life over here and then your other life over here, which is just full of conflict and confusion and chaos? Like, how do you bring them into one thing that's you living your holiness, like you showing up in a way where you are being the love that you are, you're being the Christ. So group teach, I'm all excited. I'm one of the teachers, Bill Free, Jane Holaday, Sandy Zimmerman. That's so funny. I know you very well. I just did a blank there. And Kelly Russell. And I like that that just happened, actually, because in the past, I would feel so embarrassed, like, oh my God, what's your name? I know Sandy for years, right? But the beauty of the mind training, in my mind, is that you come to a place where you allow yourself to stand in the present moment totally defenseless. And even if I can't remember Sandy's name in that moment, I would have come right over to you and I'd be like, I'm sorry, what's your name again? But I've known you for years. And you get to the space where you're allowing the space to show you what to do. And it really is going to be the end of your ego, because the ego is not going to like you not having everything contained in a nice little box. Like, we're supposed to remember everything and everyone. We're supposed to just keep things in an organized line. And when you allow yourself to go through the transformation, your habits, your patterns, your routines, everything that you have constructed as you go out the window. So that's this morning. And the announcements that I have are Jimmy Twyman is going to be at Vicki Thomas's house on Saturday, April 27th, all day. And it's an open doors event. And James Twyman is doing a worldwide one-man show about the life of St. Francis. And those of us who were in Mexico, Jane was there, and several others that aren't here in this room right now, but we got to see it, and it's amazing. Like, he becomes St. Francis. And so that's Saturday. Do you know the time on that one? Is it... I don't know if it's in the morning. I think it might be in the afternoon, but I'll find out and let you know on that one. And the transformation room is going through some very exciting changes right now. So it's a place for community support and inspiration. And they're doing what's called the presenter series. So there's a big, long lineup of Course in Miracles teachers that are going to be presenting material for 1 month at a time. So in the transformation room, which opens its doors, pretty soon it's going to open its doors once a month, just for a couple days for people to get in. Because the idea is to keep everyone together as a group to go through these weekly deliverables and content. And there's like Gary Renard, James Twyman, Kelly Russell, Kimberly Cartwright, Bill Free, Alan Cohen, Robert Rosenthal, who's the president of the Foundation for Inner Peace, Carol Howe. Who else? Lisa Natoli.
Lisa Natoli is going to surprise everyone. She's doing the May launch
you want to tell them what
Yeah,
what it is?
Last night in the bathtub, it's where I get all my best ideas. I got asked a few days ago if I would do the launch in May and be the first teacher up, and I said yes. And the topic is embodying Christ, which I'm all excited about because that's holiness and embodying Christ are just my two favorite themes. And so the way it works is we're going to do a 1-hour interview with somebody's going to interview all of the different presenters. That's the first deliverable. And then you get weekly worksheets or podcast or another video. And the idea that came to me last night, because I like experimenting, is the 30-day Christ challenge. So we're going to do 30 days of you being the Christ, of embodying Christ, living the Christ. And that is going to begin May 1st.
You can go to the website now and you can
teachersofgod.org.
And you can sign up for the waiting list. It says transformation room wait list. It's getting ready to change over to presenter series, but it will go on the same list if you sign up now, and you'll get a heads up for the cart that's going to open. And we're not going to raise the price.
That's awesome.
It's going to be $23.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if we can take this time now to rise and we greet each other in love, and then we'll come right back. Yes.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Well, good job. Hi. How are you? Hi, Jessica. Nice to see
Okay, can we bring it back?
That's kind of cool, man. Code is getting color. I like it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, got the mic on. Let's talk about
I know we're having a family reunion here, but
I like wearing we
So
close
can we
it like
go
this?
ahead and be seated and get started, everyone? We're going to get seated and get started. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, welcome back. So I'm excited to introduce Monique Gauthier, and she is from Canada. She has come here. She rented a car this morning and drove 2 hours to be here. And she's going to do the Cafe Gratitude for us this morning.
Hi. Thank you very much. So I didn't prepare for this, so I'm sure this will be purely channeled. So it says here in this book, perception is a learned phenomena. So what does that mean? For me, from the Course, from what my understandings are, is that, we have a conditioned mind. We're learning, especially from age 0 to 7, we're absorbing a lot of what's in our environment, our parents, our schooling. And we are teaching ourselves. We're always teaching ourselves. So we're teaching what we're looking at, how we're interpreting what we're looking at. And I know the Course is telling us to start shifting towards vision, which is really to start looking with the eyes of Christ, to start looking with the eyes of your heart. And so I love this quote because it's about learning. So it's the mind training is really about what am I learning and what do I really want to be learning. And so at the bottom of this passage says, who are you scared to love? Who are you scared to love? So think about that. And I think that's probably the bottom line on that is scared to love yourself. How is that? If you look inside yourself, just have a second of quiet and you go in that still place. That's where we're connecting to, like, what is it that I'm so afraid of inside of me? What's so terrible that I can't be with whatever's inside of me? And there's a lot of answers there and a lot of places where you want to learn how to have vision with regards to yourself. And so in my own personal experience, let's see, what's up recently? If I'm noticing that my perception is creating my reality, that my judgments of the world are creating certain situations that are, let's say, unpleasant, let's say in my relationships or in my money or in my work or whatever, and I'm looking at all of those areas of my life and I say, okay, well, this part isn't so pleasant, that part is so pleasant, and I'm trying to own it. I'm trying to be responsible for my perception and see if I can train myself to have some love around it and have some love around what I've created, because some of it seems very unlovable. And so I think the crux of the matter for me is, like, can I love how I have been perceiving and start moving myself towards really opening up my heart and staying put there. So moving up from survival into my heart and staying put in my heart towards myself. And that actually has repercussions in my world, and it has repercussions with the people I'm in front of that look like other, that are part of me. And so I think it's kind of that deepening into a vision of the self that's, is something you keep learning, a vision of the self that it's totally forgiven, that there's nothing here that's bad, nothing here that's scary, nothing here that's really wrong. Well, that's the game in town. It's the only game in town. It's like, can I do that self-love? Can I really enjoy, celebrate, with all of the colors of my past and all of the colors of my life? Can I just be okay with it and just say, yeah, that too gets to be loved. Nothing scary. So that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Monique. And I love that question. Who are you afraid to love? And today's group teach, and we have 5 teachers this morning, all going to go 10 minutes each, and then we'll probably have a little bit of time afterwards for anyone to share for this topic, which is living your holiness, the power of stillness. So our first teacher is Jane Holaday. Welcome.
Ooh, the big one. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. You all look so beautiful today. Is this on? Okay. Good morning, love streamers. Good to have you here. We stand in the presence, and we are the presence. I just wanted to talk a little bit about thanking Lisa for inviting me up today. This is kind of a big step for me, and pretty excited about it. And also want to thank her for talking about using the space to tell her what to do. I was part of the Mexico trip. Good morning, Louise. And she said she didn't prepare anything. And she was going to let the space dictate what happened. And it was incredible. It was just incredible. There was yoga every morning, and we had plenty of teaching time and time for reflection and meditation. It was amazing. And you cracked me wide open. Just beautiful. So in order to live a new way of being in my holiness, I decided that I need to do a little preparation. So I went to Toastmasters one time last week, and before I was invited here, and people know Toastmasters. So I showed up, and it's fairly regimented, and sort of there's formalities and whatnot. And at the very end of the session, they do what they call table topics. So it's random questions that you have to really think on your feet and kind of fudge it if you don't know what to say. And all the members got up and did their thing, and the moderator looked at me and said, "Jane, would you like to come up?" And of course my first thought was, hell no. No, why would I want to do that? And I said, yes, I'd love to, which was a big fat lie, actually. So I got up, and my question was, and actually the questions were of the heart that night, which was kind of interesting, and I have nothing to compare it to. But he asked me to speak about what makes a house a home. So I thought about it for a half a second, and you have 2 minutes. And I talked about what it felt like to go back into my home after being in Mexico. And it was beautiful. And I spoke for about 1minute, 35 seconds, because everything is timed. And I sat down, and then it was time for them to evaluate everybody and to pick the winner. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. There was also a photo opportunity, which thrilled me to pieces. So I put that down too quickly. Oh, and I think I lost one. Here we go. So the call to holiness actually has been brewing within me for quite some time. And like I referred to, it had come during the trip to Mexico, which was at such a beautiful, right, Martha? It was such a beautiful venue. And the village itself felt holy to me. There was just kindness and joy, and churches everywhere, too. So I wanted to also mention that we did spend a little time at Jimmy Twyman's house, and he does a daily Course of Miracles group at his house in the morning, and there were, I don't know, probably 40 people there or so. And Lisa was talking about Jesus within and feeling his presence. And she said, all I really need to do is touch someone, and I share him with them. And she turned and she touched me, and I became electrified, and I felt his presence. And I turned and touched Laura Powers, who was sitting next to me, and it went around the room. And I wanted to thank you for that too, because I've always wanted an older brother. I'm the oldest of 4, and he is the best imaginable older brother anyone could ever have. So he is with me now. Do it now. Do it now. Good. Good.
That's the guy next to you.
Beautiful. So I wanted to mention some of my retreat goals to develop a deeper connection in the power of stillness, which the power of stillness is still being cultivated within me. And there were many opportunities to do that. I wanted increased focus and connection in the stillness, to really have that deep connection and have it grow, and to listen and to wait. And I was asking with more deliberateness I was more deliberate. Come now, claiming my right, my inheritance. And it's been happening. I had a great deal of help putting these notes together. And it's really true. We forget to ask. And that's one of the messages I want to give out today is try to remember to ask. Because when you ask, it is given. I wanted to exude confidence more and more. And I was having dinner with my friend Dina, who led me to Unity, who called me one day and said to me, Jane, I hear there's this 40-day program. Do you want to do it with me? And I said, yeah, let's do that. And then things just opened up. So we were chatting, and I was talking about the section of the course around Teachers of God and living in holiness. And we just had this beautiful conversation. And so what happened the next day? I got a text from Lisa to invite me to speak about holiness. I love how that happens. It just happens on and on and on. It's just so beautiful. So how did I find and live in my holiness? And I really had to ask the question, how did that look in the past? You know, was it a nun praying in church? Was it a priest serving mass? It was actually the archbishop who used to come to my parochial school. And actually he, was in full dress with his, I forget what the name of the hat is that they call, but it was kind of pillbox-like. It was rather Jackie O. And he passed out report cards. So it really wasn't all that fun, but he exuded power. There was a lot of power there because he lambasted a number of people who didn't make the grade. It was pretty scary, actually. Or pictures of saints or statues or Mary and Jesus with the golden halo around their heads. And I'm thinking about all these visions in my past, and it's like, that's not me. I don't really want to live that way, and I don't think I can. Just to be helpful, some synonyms of the word holiness include sanctity, divinity, godliness, faith, devotion, piety, righteousness, virtue, and purity. I have now come to see my holiness as total devotion to God, to my source, as it's been defined, and to nurture the state of being. The next point I want to make is about daily practices. And the first thing I do is I hand over all control of all my thoughts to the Holy Spirit every morning. And the Holy Spirit just takes that ego and takes it on vacation for the day. It's remarkable. And it gets stronger over time. Of course, there are certainly those times where I get hit over the head by a 2x4 and sends me, flying. Right, Shirley? And yeah. But because we have all these amazing gifts from God, his power, which scares us mostly, and it more and more, I believe, in the power of God, his presence, his love, his light, his grace, his joy, and on and on. We need not ask God to help anyone or anything. We confidently claim that right. And we have the innate ability to bless and heal the world ourselves from within. Amen. And that's where the stillness comes in, which again, I'm still cultivating, but to come from that place and to actually just give it to the people who we feel need it. So before my day starts, I connect with Jesus. I spread the light and love to every inch of the world. I envision the planet, and I envision a wave, a blanket of light and love covering the entire planet, every inch of the world. People, all people, animals, birds, fish, insects, and also our beautiful Mother Nature. And I call out to all the world leaders to govern with their heart's intelligence and to live a little more in love that day. And I just invite you to share this practice or something similar to recognize and acknowledge your own holiness. Ooh, my hand is shaking. Nervousness and excitement is the same thing, right? See the light, love, and holiness in others, and you will see it in yourself and foster it within yourself. We can and will heal the planet with our holiness. And for me, it comes down to self-love, which you spoke about earlier today, which is very difficult for all of us, or I'll just speak for myself. It's been a difficult road. And to trust. The trust is just so important to me in the divine, and to honor and use our inherited gifts now. Like Lisa always says, now, why wait? I got my Medicare card in the mail this week, so it's not now or never. And let's all try to work towards getting over ourselves, getting over our past. Do what brings joy to the world, which will always come back to us. So in conclusion, my mighty companions, I have a quote from chapter 14 in the Purple Book, A Course in Miracles, section 10, The Reflection of Holiness, which is on page 480, if anyone wants to have a look. The atonement does not make holy. You were created holy. Period. You were created holy. It merely brings unholiness to holiness, or what you made to what you are. In the temple, holiness waits quietly for the return of them that love it, for the presence knows they will return to purity and to grace. Namaste.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Wow. You are the grace of God. That was so good. And I love what you said, that nervousness and excitement are the same energy. That's so good. You know, we hide. We think, oh, I can't, I'm afraid, I'm in doubt, I'm not there, and then just to be the total demonstration, to stand up here and let yourself be yourself. There's such power in that. And so thank you so much. And our next awesome teacher is Kelly Russell. Come on up.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I stand in the presence. Thank you. So I was thinking about living my holiness, how I live my holiness, and the power of stillness. And I decided to talk about it from the aspect of what it isn't. So what stillness isn't is that voice that feels kind of constant of, you got to do this, and you got to do that, and you're not doing that right, and you screwed that up, and that person's probably pissed off at you, and you don't have time, and now you have to rush, and you're going to be late, and you're not going to get it done, and you're not going to get it done right, and it's just this incessant conditioned self voice. And I think about it because I talk with my coaching clients and my psychotherapy clients. I try to get everybody to meditate. And I always ask people in the first session, especially with coaching, what's your spiritual practice? And, did I say medicate? Yeah, I try to get people to medicate with meditation. How about that? And what I hear a lot is, I can't meditate. I tried it, I can't do it, which, that's totally understandable. And like, who here meditates? Okay. And is it always just like a blank mind with no thoughts, and you're just in this blissful place? And yeah, I mean, how many seconds does it take before a thought hooks you? Like 30, maybe, I don't know. And it gets better, but people will say, I can't meditate. And the ego mind is gonna do whatever it can. The conditioned self is going to do whatever it can to keep us from living our holiness, to keep us from remembering who we are, to remembering our light, and to living it. And one of the primary ways that the ego mind keeps us from doing that is by not allowing us to be still. That is the biggest threat. So we sit and we breathe and we close our eyes and we start, whether it's, here I am, Lord, like it says in the Course in Miracles, or whether it's, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? Or whether it is just I am peace, I am love, or be still, whatever it is. And then here comes the thought, because the ego mind is going to fight really hard against, I don't know how many places in the Course in Miracles it says to be still. That when you are still, you hear the voice of God. That when you are still, you are and you feel the peace of God. So stillness is the goal. And stillness will get us to every place else that we're trying to get to. Stillness will get us to the peace of God. And even though the ego mind doesn't understand what the hell the peace of God even is, it just doesn't get, that's like foreign. What are you talking about? I don't even know what that is. It senses that it would be bad for it. It senses that it would be, that it's a threat. So it's going to keep those thoughts coming. It's going to keep something to worry about. It's what I notice in myself is, sitting there and starting to go into stillness. And then I have a thought about something and that I should get up and do that before I meditate. Oh, I should just get up and go do that. Or I should just look at my phone, or I should just check, and it's like, no, we're not doing that. And so it's kind of like, I say this to my people that I'm teaching to meditate. If you have children, or you've ever babysat children, when they're in that toddler phase where they aren't able to really do what you're asking them to do, which, I mean, that phase sometimes lasts their entire lives, and that's fine too. But when they're toddlers and they can't really, so you can't just sit on a blanket on your butt and say to your 1-year-old that just learned how to walk or run, come back to the blanket. You have to get up and go get them and bring them back, right? So if you're at the beach and they're running toward the water, they're running toward somebody else's blanket, you have to get up and you have to bring them back. Meditation is the same thing. So stillness, you're sitting and you're breathing and you're going into the peace, and then a thought comes along, and it may be, if a thought comes along and you can detach from it and just let it go down the river, let it go by as a cloud, great. But what happens to me is I just sort of wake up in the middle of a thought and realize that, oh my God, I'm way out here in the middle of somewhere, wrapped up in thinking about something. So then I just bring myself back to the breath. And that's what the stillness is, what happens in between the thoughts. And the more that you pay attention to that, and the more that you focus on that on a regular basis, the better at it you will get to be. One of the things, I saw a sign recently that I love so much that I want to have it in my house. And it says, what if the hokey pokey really is what it's all about? And I thought about that. And I thought, well, okay, so what is the hokey pokey, right? You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you put your right foot in, you shake it all about, do the hokey pokey, turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. And you go through I'm going to spare you going through all the limbs and everything. But, to me, that's kind of like you're putting your foot into stillness, but then you're pulling it back out. But then you put it back in. And then your ego mind is just like, what are you doing? And then you're shaking all about. And then you realize that you're in the hokey pokey of the world, and you turn yourself around. And that is what it's all about. The turning yourself around is what it's all about. And so you have to get to that. You just have to realize that. So when people tell me they can't meditate, I say, bullshit. Everybody can meditate. You're not willing. You don't want to. And the reason you don't want to is because you're listening to the wrong part of your mind. You're listening to the conditioned self, to the ego part of the mind, which absolutely 100% does not want to meditate, because the ego mind doesn't know what the peace of God is, but certainly doesn't want you to have it. So if you want peace, if you want the peace of God, if you want the peace of the path that passeth understanding, and you want to be in the state of being at one with yourself and at one with your brother and at one with God, stillness is the way to get there. So remembering that the last verse of the Hokey Pokey is you put your whole self in, you put your whole self out, you put your whole self in, and you shake it all about, and you do the Hokey Pokey, and you turn yourself around. And that's what it's all about. Thank you. I love you.
Oh my God, that was so good. You always show up with the element of surprise. Always. I love that. Thank you so much, Kelly. So our next teacher is the awesome Bill Free.
Oh.
Talk about who else is the master of the element of surprise. You didn't know you were going.
I'm doing the camera. Now Arthur is. Thank you, Arthur. He's my brother from another mother. We look alike. And the live streamers are going, oh my God, they love the blanket analogy of the kid running, the thoughts being the kid running away, and the hokey pokey. That was hilarious. She has a way, Kelly has a way of turning, what can be complicated understanding, and she turns it into these little things, great little metaphors, and she has a really great way of presenting those ideas. And for me, this is Living in Holiness Month as our theme. Actually, it's the theme that I chose before I realized that we were going to go with embodying the Christ for the first 3 months. So I went with the theme of Living Your Holiness in my April deliverable in the Transformation Room Presenter Series. And when Linda asked me what I wanted to talk about for April, it just came in to the accessing of stillness. Because in my experience, that is to know thyself. Accessing the power of stillness is the same thing as meditation. And it becomes not just something that you, at first, you close your eyes and you get quiet and you use mantras or breath awareness to come into that noticing, until you don't need that anymore, until you realize that, okay, now you can open your eyes and still connect with that stillness, and still be in meditation with eyes open. And then you come to this place where, okay, that gets understood and experienced and known. And then you realize that you are a living meditation, that your meditation goes with you wherever you go, because God goes with you wherever you go, which means stillness goes with you wherever you go. So all of these points meet to the same circle. You're in the same circle of God presence. When you develop these first it comes in as a learning, and it takes a little willingness to want it, and then it takes great willingness to want it above all else, because all of your experiences in life are they want attention. They will call your attention so that you pay attention to them, to the experiences of life, the activities of life, instead of this quiet stillness, this presence that is what you are. And the stillness goes with me wherever I go. When I allow it to take front and center, when I allow it to have it will have dominion over all things when we want it above all else. And it's kind of like your checkbook. You look at your checkbook or your credit card, look at where you spend your money. That's where you value things. That's where it tells you kind of what your values are. And some people just value having, and I do too. I like my bills to be paid. I like to have a car that runs, that doesn't leave me on the side of the road. I like to have things managed. But you also can see what's important to you when you look at how you spend your time. So do you give and this isn't a guilt thing at all, but at first the mind is going to tempt you. It's going to attract you to be paying attention into all of these other things, these other activities, including this. This can be a distraction. Reading can be a distraction if it's, and it can be abused because the mind loves to stay mental. It loves to stay in concepts and thoughts and stories and other activities, because just like Kelly said, it doesn't like to, it somehow has a fear that if it's still, that something's off. It's like what happens when you stop talking. Right? The stillness, it's like, okay, somebody say something, right? Isn't that true? It's like, okay, somebody do something, because the stillness is uncomfortable for the mind. But when you practice this, when you recognize that stillness is what you are, and actually meditation is what you are. You are a living, walking, breathing meditation machine. Meditation is not what you do, really. It's sort of it's a word that we use to enter into something that is what we are. We are a meditation. We're a walking meditation, and you can get so accustomed to this stillness experience, the presence of awareness. Awareness is not an idle idea that is for non-dual seekers or lovers of truth, or awareness is the portal that when you're learning how to meditate, and you have a breath awareness, just be aware of the breath. It's not to be aware of the breath, it's to be aware of awareness. When you're aware of the breath, you're stepping back one step, being aware of the breath, but really you're stepping into the awareness of the experience, so that awareness can be noticed. And then you even step back behind that, because awareness is known by what is just that placeless place. It's a no place of all place, of everything. And awareness is essential to having that experience of stillness. And you can have that stillness. These are just tools. Meditation is just a tool to access the stillness, which is your natural state of being. And when you enter there, all of your conversations are held, are accessed right there. You bring any of your experiences in your life into that space of the stillness, and the mind now accesses its intelligence, its wisdom from there, because now the mind has been it's feeling comfortable. It's being trained to access its source instead of its image that it has made, which is the thinking mind and the mental activity and the using past, present, and future to know what to do. And so for me, it's just this fast. It's found in the pause. If you get agitated, you get rattled, you get chasing after the kid that's after somebody else's blanket, or you do the hokey pokey, you do any of those things, just allow yourself that this is what I do. You've seen me. This is my favorite. I put my hand on my heart. It just anchors me, remembering the truth I am. And it's just like Popeye said, I am that I am. And that's all that I am. Thank you all.
Thank you, babe. You rock. That was awesome. And our next teacher up is the awesome Sandy Zimmerman. Yay.
Thank you so much. I love you guys. Bear with me. I'm a little wound up today. I have my son going off to senior prom tonight, and he's getting ready for his graduation. And, you know, it's like a little bird leaving the nest, but aren't we all little birds that think we left the nest? And that's not really true, because there is no separation. And luckily I can remind myself of that. But in terms of living my holiness. See, why would I forget that? How could I forget that? Living my holiness, I want to talk about that a little bit, and the power of stillness. But living my holiness is really, for me, remembering that I always choose what I see. It's always my choice what I see. Like, do I see the darkness, or do I see the light? Do I see myself as guilty, or do I see myself as innocent? And I'm doing lesson 91 today, and actually Bill read it to me this morning because I'm doing his lessons. It's miracles are seen in light. You will see the miracle in the light. You will not see it in the dark. Your faith lies in the darkness, not in the light. And then it goes on to say, I am not weak, but strong. I am not helpless, but all-powerful. I am not limited, but unlimited. And I think, you know, for me, living my holiness is in that. It's like, I'm not limited. I'm unlimited. I can choose to see what I want to see. I can project what it is that I want to project. And I'm going to tell a couple little stories. One of them, I told this to Lisa, it's about her healing cure. And I took that course, and she talked a lot about living your holiness in that course. And, you know, when I took the course, I signed up for it because I love Lisa, and I've gotten so much out of all of her programs. And, you know, I just love being with her. And so I took it, never thinking it was about healing the body, because, like, I'm a course student. I know it's not about healing the body. And I know it's about healing the mind that thinks it's a body, that thinks it can be sick. So I took the course, and I did it to the best of my ability, and watched all the videos and did the lessons. And, you know, of course, I have things wrong with my body, many things wrong with the body. And one of them was, like, I was having a skin condition, and I had it for 5 years and had been to 3 different doctors and tried a bunch of treatments and tried medications. And actually the treatments were actually making it worse. It was like spreading. And so it was 5 years. And I actually, like, even though it wasn't a serious condition, I felt really embarrassed about it. And I was always trying to hide it. And I felt like it was ugly. Like, I have something ugly on me that I don't want you to see. And Lisa said in the healing cure that all sickness comes from guilt, a belief in guilt. And I thought, you know, ding, 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 that's so true for me. Like, I know that's true. I've always had guilt. And I think, you know, we all have the guilt from this belief that we separated from God. And for me, that manifested in my life very clearly, because my dad suicided when I was 5. And that was a clear manifestation of that belief. And I always felt guilty, like, how ugly am I that my dad would leave me when I was a little girl, like a week and a half before my 5th birthday. How ugly am I? There's something very wrong with me, and I need to hide that from all of you. And so I did the course, and I was done with the healing cure. And about a week later, I was like sitting on my stationary bike at home, and I looked down at my skin, and I'm like, I think that's gone. And it was. I went to my doctor like a couple days later, and she's like, it's gone. I can't see any evidence of that whatsoever. And when I was sitting on my stationary bike, I had like a download, and I started to chuckle because I realized it had gone away during the healing cure when I was not focused on the body at all. I was, thinking about my holiness and living my holiness. And I think, that thought that I have something ugly on me that I need to hide and you can't see it, that thought, rose to the light, and it got dispelled by the light. And I really believe that that's what made it go away. So the mind is very powerful. And, in terms of the power of stillness, when I sit in stillness, and I don't meditate every day, but I do love it. And when I get quiet, I've never once gotten any complicated message in that stillness. It's always a very, very simple message. And it's, I'm right here. I'm right here. And when I hear that, I always echo back, and I'm right here. I'm right here. Because for me, in the stillness is where I can most easily access that like coming together of the Father and the Son. And that's always what I've wanted and to feel is the coming together of the Father and the Son. And so that's where I feel it most readily. And I know Arthur Gay once said to me, because I was saying I'm really busy. I have 2 kids and a house and a mother that lives with me and a career. And he said, you can be in your stillness, even in the busyness. And I love that because it's true. I am the stillness. I am the holiness. And, I can be that little bird watching from above as the little bird goes about its business and just watch that. I can go to the next level and be in awareness and know that none of that is what I really am. I'm awareness. I'm that Father and Son connected. And one other little story, I was at Kelly's Monday night group this week, and I was saying, my mind's been really busy lately because I'm doing a spring refresh in my house. Especially in the dining room, and getting rid of all these dark colors, and I'm getting some light colors. And so I'm like, doing all this online shopping and looking at rugs and artwork and furniture and having furniture delivered this week. And I said, so my mind is really busy, but it's funny because Spirit always has you. That's the power of Your Holiness too, is knowing Spirit always has you no matter what's going on the surface. And so later in the meeting, I was saying how, spring is a hard time for me. It's historically been difficult because my dad suicided in April, on April 16th, and my birthday's April 24th. And so it's always been difficult. And Kelly kind of helped me to see, because she's such a great teacher for me, oh, you're doing a spring refresh in your house. You're getting rid of the dark colors, the darkness, and letting in the light. And it just was like, ding, 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 that's so true. It's like Spirit always has me. Spirit wants me to refresh my spring page. Like, refresh that page. It's been, it's been a page of darkness, and you need to refresh your page. And Kelly said, yeah, and it's in the dining room. That's a place of gathering. And I was like, yeah, it's the opposite of separation. So again, it's like Spirit wants me to be in perfect happiness. I feel like another name, an alternate name for this book could be, I Want You to Be Happier. And I know that Spirit wants me to be happier. So That's what the refresh is about. You know, Spirit's like spring refresh time, because it's all, you know, my son can't leave the nest. We can't leave the nest. We never left the nest. We're always together. We're always joined. So thank you.
Oh my God, that was so good. I like ding, ding, ding. So I'm the last one up, and then I want to save space to have people share it this morning. So I didn't prepare a topic for this because that's the new way I'm living in stillness. That's the way I'm living my holiness. I'm really wanting for myself to just be so present. And there's just two things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to share something that you reminded me of with the hokey pokey, and then I'm just going to move over to something that Sandy said on this topic. But I don't want to talk a lot about the first thing because I'm teaching on April 19th in 2 weeks from now, and I'm going to share it in a more in-depth way. And I didn't even know I was going to talk about this, but I learned about this process by this guy named Josh Pies. He is an actor, and he's a trainer. He trains actors to be very present. He also happens to be the husband of Marie Forleo, but that's not really what he's known for. And he is training actors to a new method of acting, and the process that he uses is called I'm back. And you, with a hokey pokey, you kept saying the word I'm back. You know, you step out and then you step in, I'm back. Out, I'm back. And I just wanted you over the next week or 2 weeks, and then I'm gonna do a little bit more in depth on it when I teach on April 19th. But it's such a cool practice, and he's basically saying for you to watch yourself like a hawk. When your mind goes to the past, to the future, and you just, I'm back. You catch it, I'm back. I'm back. You thinking about lunch? I'm back. You just keep catching it. I'm back. I'm back. And what he does, which is what I was thinking I want to do in 2 weeks from now, he has people say I'm back out loud while he's teaching. So he said the room is like popcorn. I'm back, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. Because you don't realize how much you check out. And what I was thinking about is that I want to use that process. And you know me, I always attribute it to where I heard it. Because I didn't make it up. But then what I thought about is the I'm back process. This leads to me into the Healing Cure. So the Healing Cure, this online program I created, I keep calling it the Holiness Cure because it is based on all the holiness lessons of A Course in Miracles. Living your holiness for 8 weeks continuously to the best of your ability. You are going to identify with your holiness and not the body. And of course, I have to put the big physical disclaimer up there. You know, if you're having a doctor, you know, keep taking your medications, keep doing everything that you're doing. But make it your active, conscious decision to identify with your holiness for 8 weeks. And you keep bringing yourself back. I'm back. I'm back. So I've created, you know, my usual visuals in there, like I do in the 40-day program. And it's that circle. And so I was thinking about I'm back. Now, the problem with most people thinking I'm back, I'm here, I'm present, where are you? Like you might wander off thinking about some grievance from yesterday, worrying about some doctor appointment tomorrow, thinking about what someone said to you. I'm back. So you might have that ability to keep coming back, but where's back? This is what I'm going to talk about in 2 weeks. Because what we talk about here in the world is be present. That's not it. Because be present, where's present for you? Where's your identification? Where's your focus? So And so in the healing cure, the sentence I keep asking everyone to remember is, what's your location? Where are you? So your location is, are you located in the body as a person, an image, a thought, a feeling, emotion? That's your location. And if that's your location, you've stepped out. You step over here. So now the location, come back in, I am holy. So it's a shift. It's a shift in perception, and you have to keep doing it. You have to really train your mind to come back into a place of stillness. And so I want you all just to practice that for today, and just to say, I'm back. I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. And then when you come back, ask yourself, where's back? Where am I? Like, I'm back. Okay, I'm back in this room. Okay, I'm here. It's Friday. It's April. I'm here. I'm back. I'm here. I see all of you guys. Where am I? Am I speaking from a body as Lisa, or is the holiness speaking? Is the Christ speaking? Is the light speaking? And so, like, I love, with Bill, it's hilarious for me. So I'm not frustrated anymore, but all his talk about awareness over the years made me super crazy. Like, stop talking about that stupid word awareness. But it turns out that has been my total freedom. Because most of you know, I was dealing with physical symptoms for many years, just recently, really, over the last couple of years. And then you want to talk about them. Things were happening physically to me. So I would say, I'm sick, I feel this is happening, And Bill would just really gently, and sometimes firmly, say, who's the I? Who's talking? And it would make me so frustrated, because the I that's talking in that moment doesn't want to be reminded of its falsity. Like, no, I really got a problem here. Like, I'm vomiting. Can't you see? I'm not well. No, who's talking? Who's not well? The Christ is totally fine. So it takes real commitment to keep coming back. I'm back. Okay, where's back? What's my location? And then as I train myself to just say, okay, no matter what the body does, I'm whole and perfect. I'm healed. And that's why, Sandy, I'm so grateful that you shared that story, because, and that's just the final thing I want to just bring up here, is the thing about hiding. Like, you say you had a rash and you want to hide it. I'm ugly. And that's what the ego wants us to do. We want to hide in the body. That's our hiding spot. And when I say in the body, I'm talking about the feelings and the emotions. And so healing, holiness, they mean the same thing. They mean wholeness. That's the actual definition. And so health is coming out of hiding. So it's where you didn't try to heal the body. You were willing to look at what was really causing this was the guilt. And that's all you want healed. You want to be free. And so I got this email, which I sent out as a blog, so you may have already heard it, but this woman wrote to me about a skin condition on her face, and she's covering it up with a Band-Aid. And I don't care what she does, like if she keeps the Band-Aid on or not, but I encouraged her to consider taking the Band-Aid off and just being herself. And that's going to bring up a lot of fear. Like when you really consider showing your true self, showing your sickness. So like I just have a friend who's going through chemotherapy, and he's our beautiful friend Paulie, who many of you know, and he got diagnosed with cancer a couple months ago, I think. And they told him he was going to die a couple months ago, and he didn't die. And I always had this thought that if I got a diagnosis, that I would just check out, that I wouldn't try to heal the body. I wouldn't try to do anything. And this week sometime, Bill and I watched the movie RGB about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth RBG, right? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's a Supreme Court justice. Who's seen that movie? It's so good. Well, her husband, Marty, when he was just a young man, they were just newly married, he got sick with cancer and was told he was going to die. And he went through the chemotherapy. And I am so glad, because if he hadn't gone through the chemotherapy, I don't think any of the stuff that happened would have happened. I mean, he was her champion, her cheerleader, and he didn't die. He passed at age 78. He lived like another 60 years. And then she also got cancer and went for the treatment. So it like changed my entire mind about medical conditions by watching that one movie. And then my friend Paulie said that he's decided to do the chemo. And I'm like, yay. Because see, this is what the healing is. The healing is like, let yourself be seen. It's not about the healing of the body. It's about you coming into total authenticity and total transparency and just allowing yourself to be exactly as you are. Because the ego calls healing perfect health, money in the bank, no conflict. But healing is inner peace. That's what healing is. That's what stillness is. And so in the stillness, that's where you can see all the mind activity. So what Josh Pies is teaching in his online program is, that's why it's so cool, Jane, that you said that, like about nervousness and excitement is the same energy. That's what he talks about. So he's teaching actors a new method of acting to have stage presence for when you feel doubt, anger, nervousness, whatever, you recognize it's just energy. It's not, you don't label it. So it's pure Course in Miracles, right? You're just allowing the energy to be present. You, I'm back, are still in the middle of it. And then you change that energy into your stage presence. You allow that energy to just, and you don't come in with a plan. You just let yourself be moved. So, just very grateful. And I want to give the mic to anybody who wants to come up here. We have about 10 more minutes on living your holiness or the power of stillness. How about Louise? I'm so happy to see you, though. Thank you. Anybody want to share anything? You don't have to. You can say no. Oh, Arthur, come up. Okay, you need a microphone.
Thank you. I'm so glad I came today. This has been amazing. On stillness, I just wanted to touch on what Kelly was talking about meditation, because I get that a lot. The definition of the finite mind is activity. Trying to quiet the mind is a waste of time. So when I get that statement, I can't meditate, I ask people to do this. In meditation, you are what completely surrounds that thought or feeling that's rising up, the mind. Rest in that surrounding. That surrounding is stillness. We can back it up into the bigger picture and understand that we are what completely surrounds all experience, what experience appears in. And if we can rest there in meditation, that allows any thought or feeling that wants to arise and do its thing. So we just surround it. That's meditation.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was expressing to this woman who has the moving back around, who had the thing on her face. Like, to just recognize in the middle of every single thing that's happening to you, I'm okay. And the mind that's in pain or guilt or self-attacking, its first response is, no, I'm not. I am in pain. I have a problem. But in the stillness, when you just, and that's a practice, you have to really practice, like Arthur's saying, to just watch it all. And in that still place, even if you're still experiencing the pain, you're like, I'm okay. Like, no problem. Like, this is what I was also expressing in a blog. 2 weeks ago, I was with Jennifer Hadley at her retreat with Corinne Zupko, and I invited anyone in the room to come up with anything at all, any problem, pain, difficulty, issue, fear, whatever, and that I would show you, you have no problem. And I can do this with certainty with anyone. I could do it here. Because when you come up here and tell me something, so someone got up and she had a physical condition, congestion, can't sleep. So of course we might think, oh, that's not that bad. But Jesus tells us anything that you think as a problem is the same magnitude. They're all the same. A little discomfort or a major discomfort. So in that moment, she's like, I'm congested. And I said, so I don't see a problem, but okay, so you're telling me the congestion's a problem? She said, yes. And as if on cue, I started to get congested. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a little congested myself right now, actually. I said, could someone please get me a tissue? So someone went and got me a tissue, and I blowed my nose, and everyone's laughing. And I turned to her. I said, do you see? No problem. Same thing. We got the same thing going on, but I see it differently. And I'm not embarrassed by it. So I said, you can't sleep. Okay, so you think that's a problem. It's only a problem because you think it's a problem. So no matter, there's so many people on this planet who have disabilities, no arms, no legs, stage 4 cancer, no money, no whatever, doing big things, right? Like, because the spirit of them, the life of them is unstoppable. You are unstoppable. There's nothing that can stop you except your stories and your beliefs about yourself. That's the thing that needs the healing. And in the stillness, you can see all that activity. And once you see all that activity, game over. Seriously. And that's what happened with me being sick. When Bill kept saying, he kept bringing me back to awareness. I didn't want to hear about it. Stop talking. Like, right? But he kept, like, I must have asked for Bill because he's in my space. Right? That's how you know. If Bill's in front of you and he's talking, you must have asked for him specifically. So,
You, for sure.
For sure. You got me in your space. You asked for me too. And that's how it is with everybody. But I couldn't get away from the mind training. Like, okay, I must have asked for this. I must have asked for this condition that I seem to find myself in. I must have asked for this annoying awareness talk that keeps coming at me. Must be the Christ speaking to me. And finally, one day, I just decided to listen. Who is the I? And he would see me. Like, I would be stuff coming out of my eyes and just so much pain. And he would force me to be still. And I had an idea. I'm supposed to keep my eyes open. That was a thing. Like, a lot of the physical discomfort for me was I couldn't keep my eyes open. And I kept wanting to shut my eyes. He's like, shut your eyes. I'm like, oh. Like, oh, okay. So I would shut my eyes and eat dinner with my eyes closed for a while. And then he would say, and in that state, he would say, got a problem now? And I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. I was like, oh, yeah, I actually don't have a problem right now. And then Bill would say, okay, this experience, does it have an age? No. Does it have a gender? No. Does it have whatever the story I lopped on it? No. And so that was really me moving into the healing cure of that total identification. I am spirit. I belong to love. I don't care what happens. I don't care if the body totally fails me. I am whole and perfect. And that's the call. That's the place we're all being called to, is that we are the light, and this world needs exactly the gifts that you give. So I thank you all. Thank you, live streamers. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill, for being in my face.
Don't mention it. My pleasure.
Don't mention it. All right, if everybody can join me in a circle.
I can be of service.
Yeah, that's so funny.
You were learning how not to see with the body.
Exactly. Who wants to do a closing prayer? Well, for anyone who would like to give a donation, we greatly appreciate your support. Helps us pay for the space, helps us pay for the live stream. There's a box in the back, and any amount you can give is very much appreciated. There's a donate button online for the live streamers. And we say the unity, blessing of the tides, divine love as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. So, closing your eyes, I'm back. Come back, come back. Be aware of your feet in this present moment. Be aware of your location. Are you identified in the body, or are you identified with your holiness? And it's just a simple shift. Because who you are is shining as the light of God right now. In the middle of any pain, problem, difficulty, here you are. And here we are. Here we are together. This is a brand new moment. It is spring clearing. We're moving the darkness out for a brighter experience, for the light of God. And this light is in every breath. It's in every moment. And it is shining. The peace of God is shining in you now. It is shining from your heart. It is extending around the world. And it is touching everyone in this moment. And we think of those who cross our minds, who are in pain, who are suffering, who need to be lifted up. And we pause in the stillness. And we know that they are being lifted up in this moment, that their mind is lighting up with the light that you are shining. And I give thanks that you are here in this world and that you have this ability and power to remember the love that you are. Amen. Thank you. I learned so much.